Alright, so welcome to the fourth video. This is going to be an interesting video for some, a bit disparaging for others, because mainly in this video I've narrowed down two separate time periods for our potential departure. And yeah, I'm going to get into a bit of symbolism, analyzing, doing some decodes. But first we're just going to start with a quick and simple gospel. So John chapter 3 verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And that's all you have to do. It's free grace. Despite what some people will tell you, it doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It doesn't matter how often you go to church, and there's no cosmic equation of good to bad things you've done. Everyone's condemned, everyone's born with sin, and it's through Jesus that we're saved. And that's the only way. That is the narrow gate. So we'll move on to the first part here. So I'm going to look at two different videos. The first one's going to be a scene from the Simpsons Rapture episode, which is Thank God It's Doomsday. And then the second part we're going to look at is a bit parts from a video by Brother Dana. Shout out to Brother Dana. We're going to analyze one scene here from Leave the World Behind, which is another heavily symbolic video. But yeah, I'll just play the first one here, and we'll talk about it, and look at Stellarium a little bit, and just do some assessments. Okay, my apologies, I'm going to have to change the sound here. There we go.
At least at school play, which had serious pacing problems. 3, 2, 1... Oh, I'm wrong again! I'm nothing but a big fat... I was right! And there's the earth, so beautiful with your many rings.
Okay, so there's a lot that we can unpack from this scene. I've covered a bit in a previous video, but what's essentially being shown here first is the wolf moon. Notice how they show the full moon and then the howl of a wolf. So this occurred on, I'll just try and cite everything here, so wolf moon. So this occurred, so the wolf moon is the name given to the full moon in January. And if we go to the moon phases here, and we go to January, we get the full wolf moon on the 13th of January. So that's the first thing that's being shown here. And in a previous video I made, the Simpsons Rapture episode, if you watch it, or if you observe it in reverse chronological order, you'll essentially get the events leading up to the rapture.
3, 2, 1...
And then Homer does the sort of countdown of 3, 2, 1, which... You could, I analyzed this in another video, but you could see the 3, 2, 1 as March 21st, so 3, 2, 1. And then nothing happens after his countdown, and then a second passes. So you could discern from that 3, 2, 1 is not the date. And as I've looked at in a few previous videos, the date I'm looking at is the 22nd, which is, the 22nd, which is the third quarter moon of that month.
Oh, I'm wrong again! I'm nothing but a big fat...
So that's one way you could look at it, and another thing here too is if you look at Homer as he's naked, he's representing the moon in this case, and then you have Saturn right here. So as I kind of discerned from a couple of previous decodes that the blood moon, particularly a blue blood moon, is very key in terms of a lot of their symbolism. It's in pretty much everything. So I'll show a couple things. So we'll go to the moon here. And then we'll go to where I think my prediction is. So with the first blood moon you have in Virgo here. And then if we take it forward to the third quarter moon, it's about to enter the Sagittarius constellation, or has entered it on the third quarter moon date. So this is where I believe our most likely departure is, because if you watch my previous decode of the Pharrell Williams video, it this is like unmistakable. This is the time period that they're showing here with the Archer, and then the March moon is a blue blood moon, blue on the old Roman calendar, and as well as the warm moon, which they show a bit of symbolism as well. So this is the date I'm looking at. However, if you go forward to the next blood moon, which is between the 7th and the 8th, I think on the 7th, of September of 2025, you have the moon right next to Saturn here. So this very well...
And there's the Earth. So beautiful.
There's the Earth. This is what they could be showing you here with looking at with Homer representing the moon next to Saturn.
With your many rings.
So it's very confusing because it's very multi-layered. They show you many different things within this one scene. They show you the wolf moon, and then they show you the countdown, which appears to be the date of 321, and then you have him raptured on that's right there, the full moon there, which as we see here is right next to Saturn. So I'll move on to the next part here. So I'm going to look at Brother Dana's video here. I'm not sure where in the video he has the actual clip from Leave the World Behind, but if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend going and seeing it. It's a very symbolic movie, but essentially towards the end of the movie, they show you a lunar eclipse. The perspective here is from the moon, and then you have the sun on the opposite side, which if you kind of do the math, what they're showing you here is a lunar eclipse. So this could be the lunar eclipse, which is the blood moon on March 14th. However, it could also be the blood moon in September. So it's a little ambiguous this way. But one kind of clue as to what blood moon they're showing you here is the very next scene where they show you this kind of glass of water, which is looks to be almost exactly 2/3 full. So September 9th is actually pretty well exactly 70% of the year has passed. So this could be what they're showing you here, essentially, is what they're showing you here is the Aquarius constellation. I'll just pull up Stellarium real quick here, and we'll go to, yeah, this is the exact date here. So between the 6th and the 7th, you have the moon in Aquarius, and the blood moon occurs, I think, somewhere around here. I'm not too sure, but yeah, this is the Aquarius constellation here they're showing you, which the moon, I believe, is in during the lunar eclipse. So right after that lunar eclipse scene, they show you this glass of water, which represents the Aquarius constellation. However, it's 2/3 full, which I'm sure was no mistake, which pretty well walks you on to the date of September 9th, which what they're showing you here with how full the glass is. But it's very interesting because within a lot of their symbolism, it's difficult to discern what blood moon they're talking about or they're showing you. It could be that a bit of it is to confuse you, which it definitely is confusing. It could also be to kind of throw you off or discourage you, because if you watch my previous video with the Pharrell Williams symbolism that we analyzed, it's pretty well unmistakable, but that they're showing you the March blood moon and the departure on the third quarter moon following that blue blood moon. So that's pretty well unmistakable. This is a little more ambiguous when they're showing you this glass of water following the lunar eclipse, because there's nothing in this scene that's correlating to the rapture. As well, if you look at the scene with Homer here and Saturn, it would kind of throw off the rest of their symbolism, which is relating to the third quarter moon, because if we go to Stellarium here, and you follow the moon's path to, I think the third quarter moon occurs on the 14th of that month. So the moon is not even close to Saturn at that point. It's over here in Gemini. And there's very little symbolism I've found in terms of the rapture being when it's in Gemini. Because if they wanted to do that, they have Jupiter right here, the moon right here. I haven't observed any sort of symbolism referencing this, because this would be the date here, and this would be the symbolism that they used. But if we go back here to there, to the blood moon. Yeah, it's right. Oh, there's where the blood moon's occurring. There, you can see that. But yeah, it's right next to Saturn here. So it is very confusing. I'm gonna think on it quite a bit. I'm going to recap something else that I've shown in pretty well all the other videos I've had. Let's go to iPad Goat here. And I'm just going to do a quick recap of this before ending the video and just kind of give my thoughts on what the remainder of the year could look like if we move past that, past the month of March and we're still here. So in this video here, very quick recap. This represents the October 2nd wedding ring eclipse that occurred, reached a total eclipse just over Easter Island and occurred on Rosh Hashanah, as you can see with the honey and the apple. And the apple here represents Mercury, but it also represents Israel. So that's fairly loud. Let's turn that down a little bit. So the apple travels across the floor here, and I've counted this, and you have 21 full tiles that it touches and 2 half tiles, so 22 tiles in total, and it lands here at where you have the C and the 7 and Oman's foot right here. So if we go to the date calculator and we plug in the October 2nd eclipse, and then we add 22 weeks, assuming that the tiles represent weeks, we come to March 5th, and the time that passes from the dropping of the apple to its where it hits the foot is about 5 seconds. So we're going to assume that the time passing represents months. So that brings us to March 2nd. So pretty well the same date. It's very close. And as well, another thing that I pointed out just in a comment on my last video, or second last video, that the apple finishes its journey on a half tile and it starts its journey on a half tile. So if we know that it started its journey on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, when the eclipse was, the Wednesday or the half tile is representing the middle of the week. So it could be ending here on the middle of the week as well. And I showed it in another video, but I'll recap quickly. The C7, I believe. So if we go back to Solarium here, and then we go to March, and March 5th. And let's go find, no, not the moon, we'll go find Mercury. And Mercury, if we zoom out here, is in what I believe is the C7. So the angle's a little tricky here, but we have the Pisces constellation, which makes an unmistakable 7, and then you have to the left of it Cetus, which would make a very stylized C, but essentially we could just assume that the first letter of the name of the constellation is making the C. So we have the C7 here, and then Mercury is right there. So in the iPad Go 2 video, we can assume this is where the Mercury is ending its journey, and the splitting of the apple, which I believe, as you'll see here, it flowers into a lily. This is representing the dividing of Israel, and I believe the rise of the Antichrist, or the AC. That's just my opinion of what this is representing. There's a few others that share my opinion, but if this is the case here, we could be looking at a very, very interesting timeline, in that if our departure is, so if we have the dividing of Israel and the rise of the AC on the early March, then we have 6 months then until what would be our departure in September. So this would go against a lot of what most people interpret the kind of path of events to be. Like, a lot of people assume that we leave sudden destruction and the AC is revealed, which I am leaning towards that. I think we definitely do depart before this quote-unquote sudden destruction from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. I'll pull that up real quick for anyone that's not familiar with that. I could have just gone off by memory, but for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So a lot of people believe that this sudden destruction is going to come like pretty well on our departure. There's been many people that almost too many to count that have had dreams of the when we go up, the missiles come down, and that's many people have had dreams. Many Christians have had dreams of that. So there is reason to believe that as we go up, then the sudden destruction occurs. So this would make a very interesting timeline if you have the rise of the AC. So we'll go to a verse regarding that. So I'll read this one as well. My apologies if I'm going through this too fast. I'm just trying to make this video a little shorter than the other ones. So I'll read the verse here. This is Paul talking to the church of Thessaloniki. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. They're talking about the day of the Lord, the tribulation. Except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So I mentioned in another video that this essentially wouldn't make sense if this happened after the church left, because it would be like Paul telling the Thessalonians that so in the context of this verse, they're concerned that they've missed the day of the Lord, or it's come and passed and they were left behind essentially. But Paul's saying this day will not come until you see these things, which I think wouldn't particularly make sense. Paul telling them these things that they're not going to see because they're going to leave prior to that. I think it would only make sense that they see these things, or not them, because this is like 2,000 years ago, but that the church or the believers would see these things just prior to their departure. I think that would make the most sense. So in essence, you would be looking at a timeline like this. March, division, we would have the division of Israel and reveal of the AC. And then September, we would have sudden destruction and the rapture. So that would be essentially the timeline that we would be looking at there, which, although I'm not entirely sold on this, I still believe that if we have, with how quickly things are moving, right now we have the peace talks between Ukraine going on, which I believe Trump is going to be the person that's going to bring the announcement of essentially world peace, that saying that there is world peace when there is no peace, and there's going to be sudden destruction shortly after that. So those talks are happening right now. So I think there's no way that we go another 6 months before that announcement. So I'd almost want to take this off the table. I think it would still be very possible if we had that in early March, and then March 22nd, which is later March, we have the sudden destruction and the rapture. So I think that, in essence, would make more sense. I think what they're showing us here with the moon next to Saturn, and as well as the glass of water, the Aquarius constellation, following the lunar eclipse, I feel like that is to throw us off in a sense. But if it's not, then I think then we're looking at a very, very clear timeline then, and then we essentially remove that, and then we're looking at early March, division of Israel, and the reveal of the AC, and then September, we're gone, and then there's the sudden destruction. I think we're looking at either one of those two. I think in my mind, it has to be one of those two. And with how fast events are converging right now, I really don't lean towards this. However, it would make sense in the 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 4 verses. So I'll analyze a couple things here. So within this verse, you have here, except there come a falling away first. So many people have interpreted this as a falling away from the church, which I actually do believe this is the case. A falling away from faith, a falling away from God as a whole. I don't even think this will be limited to Christians alone. I think the great deception that's coming is something that's been programmed into the public for many, many years, and I believe that is a fake kind of alien invasion, which I believe will be essentially the cover-up for the rapture, as tinfoil hatty as that sounds for anyone that's not kind of affiliated with this this kind of line of thinking. But I think if we have the rise of AC in March, and then we have almost a 6 month period here to kind of enact their agenda, and we would have the falling away in the 6 months between these two events, which would make sense. And then another thing which Paul said, which I have to assume the reason he said it is because the church is going to see it. So I'll read it here. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God. So this is the AC sitting in the temple of God, which I actually believe might be the third temple. So again, you would add that to our potential timeline here. So we would have the building of the third temple, which I think is pretty well already ready to go, and this will be in Jerusalem. You'll have the destruction of the Temple Mount and the rebuilding of the third temple. And then you would be able to have that scene. You would have the AC sitting in the temple and declaring himself God, essentially. So, in essence, in this, you would have your falling away, and then you would have him, the AC, declaring himself God. So I think if you look at this timeline here, if this is our departure and the sudden destruction, and then you have this 6 months here for the third temple and the AC and the great falling away, I think it would make sense in terms of a timeline. I think in a alternate timeline, if you have the early March division of Israel and the reveal of the AC, and then you have, as I kind of predicted here, the departure on the 22nd, you would have essentially, I'll just write this down here just for my own thoughts, then you would have the falling away in here and the AC, hello Shiloh, and the AC being revealed within this time period as well, which would be a very tight timeline for this to happen. It would be, I'm not sure if it would be a different temple that he's being revealed in. It's very difficult to say. But if we're looking at the 6 month timeline, it would make more sense for those events to occur. Although I'm kind of hoping that's not the case. I'd prefer to get out of here much sooner than that. But I can definitely wait. But the part that I keep going back to is the blue and blood moon symbolism, as well as the Sagittarius symbolism, would essentially make no sense at all, and that would be it would just make no sense if that was not the case of our departure, and our departure was in fact in September, next to Saturn and with the Aquarius symbolism. But it's very difficult to say. I think time will only tell. March will certainly tell the tale, especially early March. I think we're heading towards some events that'll really tell the tale. I think if we have the division of Israel and the reveal of the AC in early March, that will really tell me how close we are. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. I'm sure this video will be discouraging for some who wanted to get out of here much sooner, but at the same time, I think we've pretty well bracketed in all of the symbolism. There's very little symbolism I'm looking at now that doesn't point to either September or March. It's pretty well all within that time period, and I think as time goes on, it's just going to reveal itself more and more for us. Especially if we have those events that I'm predicting in early March, then it'll really show us how close we are. So the other kicker too is the blue blood moon, and I've looked at a few different calendars, and I'm not seeing any potential reason to believe that the blood moon in September is a blue blood moon on any calendars. I'm not seeing that, so I don't believe that is going to be a blue blood moon. So all of their symbolism again would be pointing to the blue blood moon in March. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Obviously, time will tell. If we move past March and we're still here, then I'm just looking at September at that point, because pretty much all their symbolism is pointing to one of these two dates. There obviously is some trickery involved in a bit of it here, because they wouldn't have symbolism from these two separate blood moons. However, if we look at, I'll go to the verse here. I feel like this video is going to be turning into longer than I anticipated. But if we go to Joel chapter 2, verse 31 here. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. So, I believe what's being told to us here is we'll have a solar eclipse, a complete solar eclipse, and then a complete blood moon. So I think the way things are being told to us here, we'll have the solar eclipse and the blood moon, and then the great day of the Lord, the tribulation. I'm not getting from this that we'll have 2 blood moons or 3 blood moons. I think it's 1 solar eclipse, which was our October 2nd solar eclipse, and then our March blood moon, and then our departure. So that's my taking away from that. I feel like God would have been a little more specific. We would have had a different verse here, or something different here if it was a series of blood moons prior to our departure. So I still believe within this verse, and the Bible is the ultimate authority in prophecy. I'm getting only 1 from this. But again, the events in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 through 4, it leans toward a longer time period. But again, time will tell, and we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, thank you for everything, and please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. God bless. Take care.